have the biggest concentration of tree houses in the world. Nowhere is there as many tree houses in one locale. And I know that because I've been claiming that for years and nobody's told me different. This is one of my biggest and tallest tree houses, all right? But it's got like 75 steps to get up to it, so it's a long way back if you've got something in your room. You know, it's like a 6-story building, that's what it is, you know, like living on the top floor of a 6-story building. I think it fits in the state of Oregon perfectly. That's part of what this environment is. That's part of what Oregon is it's treeific, you know, it's tremendous, you know, and part of the thing was to figure out how to make a living off the trees without cutting them down, so. I came here out of the Army. Yeah, I grew my hair long once I got here. And, you know, try to live with the land more. And I guess it was a hippie-fied deal. Okay, this is what we serve for breakfast here. This is Fantasy Flakes, the ethereal cereal. Not your normal cereal with nothing in it. This has a very special nothing in it. Now, would you like to see what they look like? Yeah. Now, the trick to see these is you have to close your eyes. The whole thing was figuring out how to make a living out here, you know. You see anything?
Orange.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
I liked working with wood, but you know, it was being able to sell it, so.
What colors you seeing?
Orange.
First way I started to make a living out of wood was making picture propellers. Most amazing, amusing, confusing, transcending, mind-bending, unending little gadget you're liable ever to see. There's no drugs involved. An organic psychedelic kaleidoscope.
That is crazy. That is so neat.
This was my first attempt at making a living out of wood. And I did make a living out of this for about a year or so, but yeah, selling these, yeah. People ask me where I came up with the idea with tree houses.
Yeah.
I tried a lot of things. I built fences, I built pole barns, I did furniture. Actually, here's what's left over, the first chair. I tried a lot of things. The tree houses one worked. Okay, well, this is the first tree house that I built. A lot of people thought I was crazy. Why did people think I was crazy?
They didn't think you were serious and that it was just kind of one of your other gimmicks or something, and just laughed and said, oh, he'll never make any money on that.
I went to the county to see if I could get a permit for this, and they said, no way, you can't get a permit. So I built it anyway, and I built it as much to code as I could. You know, they said that I couldn't get a permit because it didn't have concrete, treated wood, or masonry foundation. Well, they said that there's only one place in the world that had a permitted treehouse, and it was Disneyland. And I said, well, what's the problem with that? This is kind of a Mickey Mouse county anyway, so they didn't like that. But anyway, they ordered me to tear down this treehouse because they said it wasn't safe. There's a thing called a stress test. So what I did is I stacked this treehouse full of people. 66 people, 2 dogs, a cat, and we're not sure if the hummingbird lighted or not. There was a tree ring circus. I had ABC, NBC, and CBS. The whole thing went national, and that's when the publicity started, and it actually helped business. It's got the word out, and it took 4 more years to get permits for these tree houses. How this tree house was strong enough was the way I built it. Most tree houses, they nail boards to trees, and then there's a couple things that happen to it. Either the tree will push out the nails, either the wind will tear the tree house apart, or it'll include the bark around it. Now, what I did was I used metal. There's metal up against the tree. I bolted metal up against the tree. And when I first did this tree house is 21 years old. All that there was I bolted this metal to it, because wood on wood doesn't last very long. It'll rot, but metal and wood dry wood go good together. Then it bolster blocked, and that's what you see happening there. It bolster blocked and included all that bark, but this is 21 years later, and it's this huge area of the tree that the nutrients go up the outside of the tree. They have to go around that spot. Looking at this, we had to show that it would hold so much weight, which we were able to do with the stress test. But it became apparent to me that we needed some better way of attaching to the tree to avoid this from happening. So that's when I came up with the Garnier limb. See how this is growing around this? Now the tree is growing around it, but it's become, this is more intrusive in the beginning, but becomes less intrusive over time. All right, because I'm able to keep the beam away from the tree. All right, so that all that bark doesn't get included. And over here is the way I used to do it. This is one of the metal brackets on there. Because I took off the beam that was on here, it's starting to grow over, and it may grow over and seal itself back up. But if I had a beam here, like I did before, this would just keep going bigger and bigger and bigger. So in the beginning, I just had this one bolt in the tree holding it here. Now that's a 5/8 bolt. It didn't penetrate or hurt the tree, so it wasn't very intrusive when I did this. But after time, you can see it's become more and more intrusive to the tree. So.
Do you think that the tree houses are intrusive?
Well, they can be less intrusive to the tree. Say this tree house here is up above the ground. There's the trunk of the tree, which there's a cambium layer that moves your nutrients that are from the ground up there, and then you got your leaves and the stuff comes back and forth. If all you're doing is you're taking a certain percentage of that cambium layer away, which a dead branch does. If you cut off a branch, does that hurt a tree? Yes, it does, but as long as you don't do it too bad, it can actually, the tree can thrive better. It can be more damage building a play structure amongst the trees. This is less intrusive to the tree than if I put a continuous foundation in amongst these trees. I would be hurting all these trees because all these roots and everything come in here like this. As long as I don't mess with too much with the roots and I don't mess too much with the leaves, the tree should do fine. Now from the outside this looks big, but this is really only about 100 square feet on the inside. And there's as much room on the deck as there is on the inside of the treehouse.
Travel tree in the tree room. Yeah.
They're right there, that tarp.
Oh, there's a bed in there. That's like a
That's your
bed
bed
under
right
a
there.
tented portion.
That's your bed.
Yeah, that's where you get to sleep.
You go first.
Okay, well, let's go. Come on. Ooh.
This is like a camp, summer camp for families. It's a different way of spending your weekend.
You got that one? Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, he's got the tree limb.
I think it brings people back to when they were kids.
Let's go upstairs. Let's go see this one. Is there a bed right here?
Well, you can fold this out, and then there's a bed up there too.
Well, this isn't the Ramada. This isn't for everybody, but it's a kind of like a, country resort or a ranch resort. I mean, you get a different perspective. It's less, intrusive to the land, you don't have to destroy a bunch of trees. I think it fits in the state of Oregon perfectly.
There you go. You just need a little help, right?
So this is the first tall one that I built. I had run out of oak trees, but I had these big Doug firs, and so I needed to come up with a design to build in them, and so this is my first one.
How high is this?
37 feet. People sometimes wonder about lightning. Luckily, we don't get much lightning here, but I just tell people don't hug the tree during a lightning storm. And then with the flushers, I tell people that they need to stand up before they flush. I never had a tree house when I was a kid, but we had an apple orchard, and I was up in the trees all the time. And one of the things about being in the trees, you're up above, people don't see you. You kind of can be in your own world then. And it is, it's a different world. Like an Ewok or, an elf or, Up here to our right are a couple of our glorious tree fairies, which they forgot their wings today. And that's how you get the luggage up and down, and also the cleaning stuff. It's a lot easier than walking on these bridges with it. A lot of people think tree houses being cheaper, and they're not cheaper because you're working up off the ground. So I got all this wood hanging up here outside, and I got all this movement. It's constant maintenance. And that ass over there is Trevor, my engineer in training. We can go around this other way first. And we don't have locks here, keys. That's our locks. I'm kind of a practical tree house builder. I go for balance with the tree, and I tend not to be real fancy or artsy, you know. I'm more practical and try to figure out a way to, you know, make a solid or as much room and usable room and fit it to the size of the tree. So at a reasonable time and expense. So as you see, this is loose actually, because the stairs are in one tree and the house is in another tree. So when the wind, these things move in and out. You can kind of see here, it moves all the way over here and over here. And then it goes in that way even further. You know, some of the movement, as you can see with this. What tears a lot of kids' tree houses apart is that they're fixed to the branches and the branches move. The other thing that my Garnier limb does is it allows, with a different bracket, it allows it to move. Now these here, this is a single tree house, so it doesn't need movement. But if I had two trees, I need to be able to have a sliding bracket so that it doesn't tear the tree house apart. So this is my tallest and actually biggest, or one of my biggest. With the loft, it's like 350 square feet. It's my Magistry. It's my suite up in the trees. I try to be a little bit more practical with mine, but I've worked on $500,000 tree houses. Each tree is different. Each set of trees is different. They're totally unique. These single tree house can be basically the same. I can reproduce this same house on the same size tree. But the tree has to be at least the same size. Which here, that's 12 feet. A lot of people, if you got a 20-inch diameter tree, you can build a 12-foot tree house. I sell pretty simple plans for them, and I sell the parts for them. These are what I first started calling artificial limbs, and then they got the name Garnier limb. These here will hold over 8,000 pounds in a Doug fir. These are all treehouse parts. These are loop extensions here. These are sliding brackets here. The thing with the GL is kind of a universal attachment point. This end goes in the tree, then your beam goes on here. All right, and as the wind blows, it moves around in there like this, so it doesn't tear apart the treehouse. So we have sliding ones. Sometimes you need it fixed. Sometimes you need a knee brace. Then come out at a 45. Got spline brackets that come straight out. So it comes out straight. This is a double. You put this if you need a lot of weight. You put one on there, and then one down here. It's a whole new technology, yeah. I think I made the first ones in 1998. And it was also kind of an open source type of thing. I worked with an engineer and a machinist for the first ones. They went on, the engineer kept on refining it. Other people, we shared different, you know. The engineer came up with a heavy GL, which is, you know, you can put these big bosses on them. You can get so they hold more weight. Then we have to go see my house.
How do you know this is the largest treehouse in the world?
Well, I've been claiming it and nobody said it isn't. Nobody showed me a bigger one. That's 1,800 square feet. So the engineer computed the force of this elevated structure at 250,000 foot-pounds of torque that need to be able to take care of at the base. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trees. So this has got a sliding bracket on it. You can see where it moves around every so often. It just goes back and forth. This is a double here. This probably is holding up to 20,000 pounds. And then over here is another double. And then we got a sliding bracket over here. Every tree house is unique because every tree is unique. So you have to adapt, you know. I mean, it's an old craft. It's a wood craft too. I mean, I really like working with wood. It's the way that I found that I can and make money at it. One of the big things in my life was to try to make a living at something that I liked to do. You can get stuck in something that to make a living, you have to do this. And the whole thing is I kept trying different things to find something that would work that I wanted to do. So that part I didn't sell out on.